Creatures, Archdemon. Apparently, I have something new on that thing. Although, I haven't any idea what that might be. Probably just that Orzammar was once the winter god of beauty in ancient times. He was worshipped by musicians, artists, and poets. The Feast of Orzammar was the grandest celebration of the year, an event that lasted a full 12 days. Plays and entire symphonies were written in his honor. Now he's a maddened husk of his former self, filled with nothing but a desire to destroy your life. Yeah. A Broodmother. It is well known that the Darkspawn carry off those captured in their raids to the underground lairs. Most assume that the prisoners are eaten or somehow tainted and tortured into Darkspawn themselves, though this could never account for the sheer numbers of the horde. Forays made by Grey Wardens into the underground have uncovered the answer. When exposed to the Darkspawn taint, men are driven mad and eventually die. Women, however, undergo great pain and gross mutations that cause most of them to perish. Those that survive, however, become the grotesque broodmothers. These giant, twisted behemoths birth many a darkspawn at a time. A single broodmother can create thousands of darkspawn over the course of her lifetime. Each type of darkspawn is born from a different broodmother. Humans produce Harlocks, dwarves produce Genlocks, elves give birth to Shrieks, and from Cunari are born the Ogres. Items. Thorn of the Dead Gods. In the moment that it struck, the blade of the Grey Warden who killed Thoth, Archdemon of Fire, shattered into the 3 pieces. After the Battle of Hunterfell, the Wardens carried their fallen brother to Weishaupt for hero's burial, but the broken pieces of his sword were left behind. For years the shards lay forgotten on the battlefield. Steel became edged with the corrupted blood of the dead god. They were eventually discovered by a Navaran woman searching among the bones for signs of her lost son. She sold them to a blacksmith, not knowing what they truly were, for 10 bits. The smith, however, knew that he had purchased more than scrap metal, and fashioned the shards into 3 identical daggers, the thorns of the dead gods. They left his hands and were scattered into the far corners of Thedas. But everywhere they went, the thorns left misery and loss in their wake. The woman who unearthed them died soon after the plague. The smith fell into his forge. Each person who has held one of the thorns, even briefly, has died an untimely death. Culture and history. Stalata Negat. I remember vaguely having done that, but what does it matter? 913 Dragon. The blight is building, though it is years from being named by the surface. But the memories know the signs. The Legion has lost Orzammar, though in truth it was lost to the living long ago. The spawn are moving freely and have numbers even the memories haven't seen. They will search, release. We will fortify and follow. This is the way, and it will also always be so, until we fall and the surface wonders what has changed. From Chapter 49 of Stalata Negat, The Stone Unheld, a commentary on the Roll of Years by Harrowmont. 7-0. Storm. The wars continue and the depths of the border dikes are lost. Orzammar fortifies and holds, but the lost ground is not regained and remains dead space where darkspawn multiply. It was a surge, but the surface was not breached. There was no great Archdemon behind them. No blight was declared, no rallying cry was given. The warden slumbered. After centuries of constant skirmishes, a trend becomes clear. The first line of defense, unacknowledged for centuries, weakens. From Chapter 40 of Stalata Negat, The Stone Unheld, a commentary on the Roll of Years by Harrowmont. 512 Exalted. The surface declares the 4th blight, a number that means nothing but to the stone. In the depths, the events are inverted. Our blight spanning the interim years. 7 generations of shifting lines and darkness. Our ancestors are the reason the surface kingdoms don't know darkspawn by sight, why even their eldest have never had an accounting firsthand. They believe the blights are defeated by a gathering of allies with singular focus. Eventually, they will be lost by attrition in the depths. The spawn surges and releases. We fortify and follow, although doubts are raised. From Chapter 27 of the Stalata Negat, The Stone Unheld, a commentary on the Roll of Years by Harrowmont. 310 Towers. They name it a blight, the 3rd by their reckoning. It was just the fight to our ancestors continued even though the shift setting. The hordes oppress the border, surge and release, spilling across the surface. They fortify and follow. It was not their way to let the enemy rest. 325 towers. The surface kingdoms declare victory. The horde is crushed. The push halted, and celebrations begin as humans thank skies and the Maker. Beneath the gaze and their feet, the Darkspawn retreat to the steppes of our Tykes. New front lines are drawn across old. We settle into breed, the memories say, as happened twice before, and likely in the darkness before that. From chapters 14 and 17 of Stalata Negat, the Stone Unheld, a commentary on the Roll of Years by Shaper. Orzammar History, Chapter 2. We are losing the war against the Darkspawn, slowly, a few men at a time, but losing all the same. The warrior caste was dwindling with each generation as more able-bodied men perished in their prime without fathering sons. With each generation, more of the deep roads had to be sealed. More Tykes lost forever. The kings of Orzammar watched and wondered how long it would be until nothing remained of our people but the memories. And then Paragon Caridin arose from the smith caste with a new weapon, golems, giant soldiers of living stone and metal, each one was an army. With the Paragon's golems we began to retake the lands we had lost. For a time there was hope that victory, final victory, was coming. But at the height of the war Paragon Caridin disappeared, and with him the means to make golems. Several forays were made into the deep roads to search for the Paragon, but nothing was ever found. At the time the golems we had were damaged beyond repair, and we began our slide once again towards extinction. Orzammar the Kingdom, as told by Shaper Tibor. Characters: Bhelen Aeducan. This is a time for action, not culture debate. Third of King Endrin's children, Bhelen has always been considered the last and least of his family. Not the heir, not the favorite, and not as accomplished as either sibling. Bhelen's most notable trait was his ability to stay out of trouble. His efforts paid off. He was named King of Orzammar by the Assembly. Lord Pyral Harrowmont. No one is born with rights to the throne. The sitting king may recommend a successor, but the Assembly ultimately decides who will rule. House Harrowmont is one of the oldest noble houses, as old as Orzammar itself. Endrin's most trusted advisor, Harrowmont is well known for being an able administrator and the author of many compromises in the ever-warring Assembly. His opposition to Prince Bhelen bid for the throne ended badly. His opposition of Prince Bhelen's bid for the throne ended badly. The Assembly named the Prince King of Orzammar, and Bhelen's first act was to call for Harrowmont's execution. Oghren. We've had that. The Grey Warden Sigyn mounted a search for Branka and found her, and the Anvil of the Void, for which she led her house to their dread deaths. Books and Songs. Caridin's Journal. 940, 45th day, 5th year of the reign of King Valter. I have done it. The vision the ancestors gave me has come to fruition. Today a man set up from my forge, a man of living stone and steel. I called him Golem, for the legend of those great statues animated by the dead. They are our future and our salvation. 940, 60th day, 5th year of the reign of King Valter. It is a horrific process. Not every man could do such a thing and survive with his mind intact. I am honored that the ancestors believe I have the strength to bear this burden and forge Orzammar's defenders. Nothing so great may be achieved without sacrifice, nor may stone and steel walk without a spirit to animate them. 940, 73rd day, 5th year of the reign of King Valter. I have asked for volunteers. Some few answered, men of the warrior caste, younger sons with no property, no chance for marriage. They want to defend Orzammar from the horrors these humans have unleashed. They want to live forever in a body stronger than the finest armor. They do not ask to speak with those who have gone before. I have put off saying this even in these pages, but I must say it now. My golems will be powered by their deaths. These brave warriors come to me, naked as they were born. I dress them in a skin of armor, so large it makes the bareliest look more than a babe. The anvil, the first and final cradle. We are surrounded by a mile of earth on all sides. No one hears the screams as I pour molten lyrium through the eye holes, the mouth, every joint and chink in the armor. They silence quickly, but the smell lingers, just a trace of blood in the greater stench of hot metal. I must work fast. The armor is malleable now, as I shape it with hammer and tongs. It is not long before it moves beneath my hands, writhing and twisting with every blow. It speaks again now, a low moan, but I have learned to tune it out. I can afford no error in this craft. There can be no melted slag blinding the eyes, nor an unhewn bit of granite shackling the leg. They groan at my work, but would they rather be broken, crippled? Those I have spoken to tell me of the pain, but could they see themselves, they would see perfection. From the Journal of Caridin. Notes. Load limit reached. Mass will have an effect, he says, as long as it lifts us out, I figure. Should have specified within my lifetime. Gives us time to talk, he says. How's a dwarf get named Shepherd? Up your shaft. No, really, because blah blah blah. Axe answers, but I still hear him. Drip ground. Worse than his talking. Think I drop out for some air. Except Wolfen version 1 volume selection, load limit reached. Anonymous scratching recovered from a cage hoist eventually. The Black Vials. This realm denies you, abomination for taking our dearest. We are united against your kind and bind you by your true name. Archdemon master, revenant and perversion of a treasured mother. No more shall fall, no more shall need to stand. And trust the whole dear demon and bind your rage for eternity. 6 thumbprints and blood mark the end of the text. Quest related. The Dead Caste. Friends, we have argued long, but I will propose a different direction. It is not unprecedented that one of our number should end up in the Legion of the Dead. The memories attest to some bewildering force from grace. Only his choice to volunteer has propelled this beyond mere scandal. The question we must ask is, does this serve us? The Legion has always seemed the last hope for redemption. If a noble joins the number, by choice no less, this can only do good things for enrollment, and we sacrifice only one foolish member, the last of a troublesome house. His reforms are better shouted at the Darkspawn than in these halls. I say let him go. This is the writ that was passed, Durius. I hope you can live with your decision, because you're lost to it now. From Assembly Minutes regarding the Legion of the Dead, addendum unknown. Dearest Gilly, I know things have been difficult since the century of our house. I'd hoped to bear the cost of my actions alone, but if I had a full understanding of consequences, I would have made it above my caste in the first place. I did not abandon you lightly, but I knew of no other way to insulate you against my shame than by joining the Legion. It is a half measure that has earned me no right to seek your comfort, but please, I beg you for one moment of foolish optimism. There is talk of a new soldier, a noble. The things I've heard I will not cast them by voicing them aloud, but it may be a path to respectability for my kin. For you, if there remains any official line open to our name, can you verify he is real, that House Ferald is in good stead? A letter from Myers unsent. May this report find the proper eyes to affect future tactics. We found an enclave of the spawn, possibly a breeding lair, but we could make no approach. There were far more spawn than anticipated, and I divided the squad to draw the main body of the horde away. I do not expect to survive, but I have made certain that most of my men will see another day. I am torn by this, as my petition will go unheard, and that may curse many more of the Legion than would die here. But I simply cannot abandon the men I have looked in the eye and called brother. Perhaps they will not thank me for this, believing themselves already dead, but where there is life, there is hope. I will not be the last to see their worth. From Recovered Legion of the Dead Field Report by Lord Durius Ferald. Casualty. Durius Ferald, Lieutenant, found dead with his squad. The corpse was left untouched, suggesting the Darkspawn feared his spirit even in death. His ferocity defending his men was corroborated by survivors before they succumbed to the corruption. It is rare for a soldier's actual death to exceed the honors given at his enlistment, but Ferald was an odd one, an agitator. His eccentric promises were disruptive, and I fear his death may demoralize more of the Legion than actually hurt his fantasies firsthand. He was committed to the stone with his insignia, an honorable burial, as honorable a burial as we can manage with the spawn at our heels. But officially he has formed the second front. Better his foolish hopes are diluted by time than killed outright. From a bi-weekly, whatever that means, casualty report by Sergeant Unger. Bi-weekly means within a fortnight, I suppose? The Crosscut Drifters. Fools and renegades, a lot of them. We accept that there is time for ordered and dedicated treasure hunting, but not when the foundation remains to be cut. What fortunes have they made? What house have they elevated? The minor veins they have traced have satisfied neither this assembly nor their own gamble thirst. Their actions can only be Their actions can only grow more erratic and undisciplined, and while no incidents have been reported, they will eventually undermine the stability of a major passage. It is the opinion of this assembly that prospecting be restricted until we be certain of the stability of the deep roads. These crosscut drifters can find their fortune into it. Let animals burrow wherever their nose points them. Dwarves are meant to excavate by careful degrees. From an assembly memorandum. The Gangue Shade. The stone has a will that surrounds and directs. She guides even when we are willfully blind to her influence, but she is not pure. The stone bears corruption, as old as balance. For the dwarfs to prosper, the gang, the waste and unstackable rock must be cut away. But like the stone, the gang also has an influence. Each of us must face this, must carve the worst of ourselves away. But the Legion of the Dead bears a unique responsibility. Only the fully adorned of the Legion can face the gang, can cut into the darkness that afflicts the raw stone. She encircles us and we must protect her. Where darkness meets light. The Legion, the dead description undated. I don't understand what a gang is supposed to be, if that's even an English word. 310. Why do I say the number? The Shaper's life. The blessing of the Shaper is given only to those who walk with the stone. It is a path that cuts deep, and the road is far from secure, but those who desire to work in memory must first honor it. Document the stone, protect her, and present a new history to the memories. Only then will the blessing of the Shaper be upon you. From the Shaper's life. Far from abandoned, the deep roads are patrolled by those who fight for Orzammar and the stone. Those defenders have seen great and tragic events unfold, but they are committed to the moment, not the memory. It is the Shaper's burden to walk this path with a mind to observation. We will fight if repressed. Every dwarf owes that to the stone, but his purpose is to record, not create. All the dark and deep, the old paths are alive with deeds. Only the dedication of the Shaper can ensure they are not lost in memories. The old path from the Shaper's life. Before the Darkspawn, the stone held an empire. Dozens of tykes, each cavern shade of dwarven pride. Communities separated but united. They fell by degrees. Ruins crumbled into tombstones, a forgotten glory. But the stone is a living history, and absence can reveal more than constant scrutiny does. As the stone shifts, she chooses what remains buried and what must see the light. The Shapers must return, must walk the lost way, so the children of the stone can see what has been surrendered and what can be gained. This is the sacrifice of the Shaper. The lost way from the Shaper's life. Topsider's honor. The fool has been following us for 3 days, but what can I do? I'm sure a city guard could lock him up for being a sodding idiot, but there's no law that says you can't seek your death in the trenches. There's no law down here at all. I said to his face that if he puts our patrol at risk, I'd split him myself, but he's quiet, I'll give him that. Topsiders usually assume the end of a blight erases the Darkspawn from the world. Why does this one care that his victory just drives him back on our doorstep? It's one thing to face them up in the light. He'll cut his own shaft out here once he fights them in the dark where they lived. That or delirium will get him. From A Legion of the Dead field report by Lieutenant Gant. I swear, Moltavold, I've never seen the like. This elf fought like a man possessed. His strikes were light and did not echo on the stone like those of our greatest, but the precision was that of a Shaper carving a memory across the Darkspawn. Damned if we didn't raise our glasses to him the last eve and shared stories of honored family. What with a Topsider! On the lyrium glow he looked no more out of place than any of us. It makes me think of Cousin Ben. I wonder how he fares on the surface. I think if he sends another letter, I will read it. Ties of kin should be stronger than where we choose to do business. Choose to do business? What the hell? From a letter from Corporal Trovit Orson, date unknown. The stone takes this Topsider as she would welcome her own. He was born to air and sky, but has served the deep roads better than a native son. Many will see another day because he fought at their side and fell in their stead. We don't know his rights, and I fear the loss of his family blade may cause unrest on whatever journey he faces, but we know him as brother in blood, and extend that which is sacred to us. Willem Trarmont, if the path home is dark, the stone is honored to have you in the foundation. Epitaph for Willem Trarmont, 7-5 Storm. Asunder. Might not be elven, might be human. Doesn't matter, we can still follow directions. Torso, head and limbs backed and dispersed, simple enough. This magic stuff doesn't seem that complicated. Shaper axes, scribbled in the corner, no job for a warrior. First hole gets the bag. A torn ritual page of indeterminate origin. The body rendered to its separate part, spread wide and such that no life is witnessed, no heartbeat detected. In this way the beast can remain for an age as knowledge passes and pursuers live out their lives. Scribbled in the corner. I was wrong, not elven. Hunters didn't kill it. It allowed it? Keep the pieces apart, I guess, away from the heart. The scratchings should be unreadable, but meaning swims in your head, as though whispered. The limbs mere meat, the torso but a vessel, the head all but unnecessary, the heart separate gives life, the heart safe from the blade can be restored, the heart waits in the fade. Rough inscription, author unknown.